No, that's pretty key. I mean, like one thing I think I said yesterday is like, to me it's really interesting. Anyone can be good in a situation where everything goes right, but the real skill is when stuff goes wrong, can you adapt to those situations? That's what a good player has to do. That's what other really good players put you in constantly to beat you, is horrible situations where you can't play your game. But mellow and Regent have started out in this game.
Have you ever seen any of these two play before?
I have not, I don't think. I'm pretty sure I haven't.
Okay.
So we're kind of in the dark here completely. But right off the bat, there's a lot of damage coming out there. It's Mellow's, I mean, it's got a good position. I mean, this is basically the kind of standard positioning when you're trying to defend red. You have this high area, you can lock down the choke points and then fall onto red. And then Regent comes in like really too late, and I do not know how that spawn's possible. Because he kind of spawned next to him. Like, that shouldn't be possible.
I mean, I assume he must have been just far enough away that the map considered it a different area. But yeah, one of the weird things is actually, when you see totally unknown players like this, you kind of don't expect them to have good aim. But I noticed that actually, aim is usually the one thing that good unknown players tend to have. Usually it's all the other stuff is what they'll be lacking.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
so I'm wondering if either of these will prove to have like good rail or good lightning gun or something.
I mean, it's like the most basic skill that's so obvious to anyone who just plays the game. It's like, oh, you get to hit stuff in this game. And most people, especially in North America, where team modes are much more prevalent, and Duel is not as much played as it is in Europe. And Duel is really, I mean, it accentuates so many skill sets which aren't really as common in the team games, in the team modes. For example, in the team modes, there's much less of an element of like just reading the other player or predicting how stacked or not the other guy is. Like there's this like level of prediction and guessing that you need to develop in Duel that isn't prevalent in any of the team modes really, because the way that you make decisions is completely different in those game modes. Whereas in Duel it can turn out to be quite complex, and that's just one thing. I mean, there's so many other elements as well that if you don't Duel a lot, you don't really get the grips with it. But aim is always going to be there.
Well, just think how many good TDM players would half-heartedly go to a Duel tournament if their sponsor would send them, but they never really dedicate themselves, and you could see almost none of them ever got to a decent level at Duel. They'd be okay, maybe, you know. Whereas the few who could make the transition from being really good TDM players to really good Duel players, essentially they had to just start from scratch. Like, it's almost as though in Duel they had to just forget that they were any good and start from step one, and then they became good players in 1v1, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty much the case.
And I even saw it in reverse, though, because, for example, there was a famous period in time where there were a lot of TDM tournaments online in North America in like 2002, 2001 era. And so 04 started playing with the team. I think he played with 519.
519,
yeah. And he wasn't a very good TDM player, to be honest with you. He had aim, but he couldn't even use it in the same way as the other really good aimers in TDM. It took him a while to get half decent, you know. Yet at the time, he was far and away the best 1v1 player in the world. He was owning everyone, you know. So it shows like, it's not just different skills, even though there obviously are, but it's also like a totally different approach mentally to the game and how you think of what your objectives are and what you're doing now.
Yeah, for certain. There's definitely crossovers, but I think you're completely right. And there's a lot of things in TDM which are really helpful as a starting point for Duel as well. If you want to make a transition,
I mean, I can think of it because this game is a bit of a walkover right now. I'll actually give you a few examples. Okay, so a really famous example was CZM, because initially, what people remember was it took him a while to get really next level at Duel, but actually he was always amazing at TDM. Even going back to Quake World, he was really good. And then in Quake 3, there was a period where he was just the best TDM player, at the very least in North America, you know. And so, yeah, it took him quite a while to transition to the actual aspect of being the 1v1 player, which is weird because he was like the carry player almost at TDM. So he almost actually was very good at decision making. And then one of the people I can remember who made a really good transition was Toxic, because he went the same way. He used to be like the beast carry player for the Ice Climbers, and then he switched over to 1v1, and people remember in Quake 3 he had this rivalry with Cooler. He was never really at Cooler's level on Duel in Quake 3, he was just a good player who had a sick aim, but then we remember in Quake 4 he just went nuts and became like a complete monster, you know, became like a very complete player. And I'm trying to think if there's another really good example. I don't know if there's any that actually. I mean, I guess a few you could mention who went in reverse. They went from Duel to TDM. Would be like some of the Colwyn type guys. So you got like Wins wasn't even a Quake player. He became a pretty decent TDM player.
Yeah, Wins' entire story.
There was a few like that who were like just,
yeah.
you know, the aimers who they got in the call win, etc. And they somehow transitioned into TDM, didn't they? Are we okay to just talk about
Yeah. Indeed.
I had to just carry stuff for a little bit there.
Yeah, Wins is actually a really interesting one because he started out with TDM kind of and CTF in Quake 3 OSP, and then he
went to Unreal Tournament.
Then there was some drama and some stuff in the scene that happened, I think, and he kind of was like, screw this, and then went to UT, then won a championship.
Won ESWC.
Won ESWC, and then he came back.
And he went to Quake 4 and won an ESWC in that as well.
Exactly. And then, yeah, I mean, Wins is he's actually someone that doesn't get talked about very much, quite interestingly enough.
Well, I mean, to be fair, he doesn't have the most sparkling personality. He has glasses, he looks super nerdy, and he's French, so if you add all these things together, and he used to play Unreal Tournament, you know, he's not like, I describe Cooler as like this attractor point at the end of the universe, like pulling us all towards him through the will of his game and his personality. Wins is kind of the opposite of that. You know, he's like the reverse end of the magnet, like pushing everyone away, even with his success and his strength. So you have to realize it's a bit like some of the Koreans in StarCraft. They're awesome at the game, but they don't have the personality where people are like clamoring to hear what they have to say, or they want to follow their fan page or something. Some players just don't have it. They're just good at the game, which is enough.
The Cooler's kind of like a gravity well. But what's the opposite of a gravity well?
Somewhere that has no gravity, so you're just floating away.
But this is not something that repels, actively repelling things. I don't know.
Whatever the opposite of like a black hole is.
Yeah, I don't know.
So Wins is like the white hole at the other end of the universe that spits out everything that Cooler takes in. But no one knows what value it is because no one can go to that side of the universe and see what comes out. You can only see what goes into the black hole, which since it's Cooler, you know, it can't, even light can't escape the gravity of him. So once you enter the area of Cooler, you actually can never get out. But luckily, like a real black hole, it feels like you're there forever because that's what your perception would be as you were falling into Cooler's grasp.
You become a part of Cooler.
Yeah, but it takes forever. That's the beautiful thing. You get to watch all his games. You get to watch, you know, go to choose situation to be aggressive. You get to watch all that stuff.
So when you die, your energy is just reabsorbed into Cooler.
When you die, it's sort of like your life flashing before your eyes, but Cooler's career flashes before your eyes. You get to see him as a young man in a cafe, learning, getting better. Then you get to see him getting his victories over 0-4, CZM, you know. He wins the SWC. You know, there's that troublesome Quake 4 period. That's like a dark part in his life. But then, you know.
I like these Cooler theories.
I know, he makes all theories cooler.
Yeah. Very good.
Which is also like bad Russian to English translation.
Yeah. I do wonder, did you ever ask him where he got his name from? because I never ever asked him.
No, sadly you're picking the wrong person there, because if I ever do an interview with someone, that would never be the sort of question that would actually come to my mind, because
that's the thing, it's not quite the question when you have Cooler in front of you. Oh, yeah, it's been this burning question. I just had to ask you.
Me anything.
Yeah.
Like,
you can only ask one question.
Cooler, what mouse do you use? It's like, you disappoint me. It's like, just leaves the room, just teleports out.
That's really funny because, like I said, we had an interview with him and we asked him that. He's like, I do not do free advertisement. It's like, isn't like do advertising for free? It's like, wouldn't tell us what his mouse was. He just said he'd switched mouse and that he could aim better than Cypher now.
Imagine if what happened was when he quit for like 6 months or a year, he just went away. And in Cooler fashion, he like broke down the technology of all mice, and he thought to himself, you know, I already did the impossible. I made my aim better in the game. I'm already a genius at tactics. I've got amazing composure. I've made my aim better. There's nothing I can improve. So he went away and redesigned how mice themselves are invented, and he increased the technology so that he could actually aim better using this mouse. And that's why he came back, because now he had like sicker mouse technology than everyone else.
Oh my god.
So the only solution now is Rafa needs to take like a year off and develop an even better mouse and keyboard, and then that's the only way. Basically, it'll become like an arms race, but with equipment, self-designed custom equipment.
Will his hand just turn into a mouse at some point? Like you just need some attachment, like a pirate instead of a hook. As a
what, like RoboCop or something?
Yeah,
it'll just become part of the mouse. He'll be like, what's this mouse on my hand? They'll be like, Cooler, that is your hand.
Yeah. Oh my god. This sounds like the cheesiest movie ever.
That would be amazing though,
Like Uwe Boll's like listening in the
he's like
oh my god.
Quickly,
This is a brilliant idea. It's the kind of movie that he would make. 18-1.
Okay, a thrilling game there.
Mellow taking Regent down there. As we go back into the studio shot, I am aware that the next game will be Deadly with an I, that's quite interesting, versus J-Dub. And J-Dub's a pretty cool guy. I haven't never seen him play, but he's given me constructive and well thought out criticism on certain videos that I've made.
Like what?
Which is actually really cool.
What kind of stuff did he criticize?
What kind of stuff? Yeah. Basically, the lack of coherency in my the lack of any degree of brevity. You know, just
sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it's no, he's you know, he took the time to write some nice responses and stuff. To
well, now let's critique his game. So you know, let's return the favor, shall we?
We shall. First things first, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be on the server ready to start up the game. So we'll see you guys right after this short little break.